It's a big crowd for California. All right, you guys know how it works. We're going to do questions for a couple hours here. If I really like your answer, you get a hat. We'll be signing hats as well. And God bless you guys. We're going to have a great time. Thank you. Okay, hello, yes.
Hello, my name is Yardo. I have a small YouTube channel. I'm a political commentator as well, much smaller than you are. I just wanted to thank everybody at Turning Point USA, USD for having this debate. And also, I would thank the Turning Point USA, San Diego State, because they gave a voice to one of my dear friends who was a victim at the October 7th Nova Music Festival, and his name is Muzai. I really appreciate that you guys did that, and you have my sincere gratitude. I'd also like to quickly state that this is a message for the far left first, and then we'll get into what I highly disagree with you about. But I just read Hassan Piker's New York Times article where he claims that he did not stifle free speech in his chat. I do not believe that's true because I was banned multiple times for having a simple disagreement with him. That is one thing on the right that you guys do far better, is not creating echo chambers, and this is a complete amazing thing that you guys are doing right now. And I just want to let you know, right now, Hassan Piker, I will donate $5,000 to Palestine if you debate me. Now, and I 100% mean that, and I will make sure that that is as public as possible. My question for you, Charlie, is I just want to make it clear, I am against affirmative action. Of course, I do not believe, as a disabled person myself, I do not believe that affirmative action is the entirety of what DEI entails. That being said, I would be fine with DEI gotten rid of if it meant a true meritocracy in the United States. But why would I trust Donald Trump to create a meritocracy when he himself has appointed the least accomplished and the least, essentially, yeah, perfect word, the least accomplished cabinet in U.S. history, at least in my opinion. If you disagree, I can explain why I feel that way.
Well, first of all, one thing doesn't have to do with the other, but I'm going to reject the premise that it's the least qualified cabinet ever, so we could talk about that. But even if it was just Donald Trump picking his family members, it has nothing to do with the merits of DEI or getting rid of DEI, right? So that's a red herring. They actually have nothing one to do with the other. One's a repeal of a policy. One is your critique of a cabinet. So which one would you rather debate? Would you rather debate DEI and all of its implications or Trump's cabinet? It seems like you have more problems with Trump's cabinet because we actually might be on the same side of meritocracy. So want to talk about the cabinet? Whichever you prefer.
Yeah, we can talk about that.
Right.
I personally don't see it as a red herring, but we can talk about that.
Well,
sure.
yeah, one doesn't have anything to do with the other, right? I mean, you can personally have hypocrisy in your own life and still do really good things in policy, right? It doesn't necessarily equate, right?
Well, I mean, in the way that I see it is that when a lot of people talk about, like when they're talking about their choice to vote for Kamala or Trump instead of Kamala, they talk about the personal aspects of Donald Trump that make them want to trust him, right? A lot of people trust him. You can see the way that people look. I mean, everybody's wearing the MAGA hats. People trust him. Why would I trust him?
Okay. So, yeah, that is your contention. So
yeah.
What about his cabinet is unqualified? Let me just ask you a couple examples. So, I mean, Scott Bessent, who's one of the most accomplished bond salesmen and individuals in the hedge fund space ever, right? That's not unqualified. Pete Hegseth, who's actually a frontline warfighter, unlike Lloyd Austin, who never fought a war in his life, right? We have Kristi Noem, who was an accomplished congresswoman and governor from a major state running Department of Homeland Security. You have Howard Lutnick, who's a very famous and well-known financial mind and titan from Wall Street running Cantor Fitzgerald. Marco Rubio, who was a very well-respected U.S. Senator on Foreign Affairs, who's now doing a great job as Secretary of State. So build out your argument why you think this cabinet is unqualified. Seems to me very, very qualified, actually, across the board.
Okay, so the first thing I'm going to start with, I mean, this is the most obvious one, and I have many other examples that I'd like to get into, but Pete Hegseth, you mentioned, I think that is kind of, I don't really understand why you would mention somebody that leaked war chats to a liberal journalist. To me, that doesn't seem like the kind of person that I would want to be.
Well, hold on, time out. He did not leak it. First of all,
he added the person.
The person
who
actually is responsible was just removed as national security advisor today.
Oh, you mean the person who was the fall guy for Pete Hegseth's problem?
No, he added somebody without his knowledge, but fine.
Okay, so why wouldn't he see him? Why wouldn't he see the person who's in the chat before talking about war policy?
So, time out. Just so we're clear, I'm sure you've been added to group chats with 30 or 40 people sometimes, and you enter in with trust that every acronym is actually a government official. Obviously, that will not happen again. Just so we're clear, Signal was an approved chat by the Biden administration. It's an approved secure channel by
I'm not talking shit on Signal.
However, time out. Let me ask a question about Pete Hegseth. Would you rather have a warfighter or a bureaucrat run the United States military?
I would rather have somebody that doesn't have a history of alcoholism. I'd rather have somebody that, I mean, realistically.
Wow. So do you think how about Mark Milley and Lloyd Austin, were they better at running the U.S. military than Pete Hegseth?
I mean, I think you're going to probably start talking about how there's higher enlistment numbers.
Yeah,
under
not only
Pete
that.
Hegseth.
So recruitment in the military is up majorly. Thank you, Pete Hegseth. He's doing a pretty good job. Number 2, procurement. We're saving money. Estimates are that we'll save hundreds of billions of dollars in efficiency. War games are up. The amount of war games we're doing in the Southeast Pacific has increased by 30%. This is a military town here in San Diego. They have a massive increase in people wanting to join the Navy, wanting to join the military. That wasn't happening under Biden. Morale is actually 30 points higher now that Pete Hegseth, a warfighter's warfighter, is running the U.S. military.
We have a complete difference. We're never going to agree on this.
No, but not agree, but show me, then prove the evidence. What is one number that is worse with the U.S. military now that Pete Hegseth's in control?
The numbers that you're talking about are numbers that I actually actively do not care about, because I think that we have an overly powerful military, and I think too much of our money goes to the military.
No, I know, but tell me one thing he's done, numerically, empirically, judge his performance, right? What is one thing that you could say, wow, the Pentagon is in a worst place because of Pete Hegseth?
I would say his inconsistent foreign policy, where he backs on statements depending on whether or not Donald Trump has heard them or not. Like in the beginning, we were talking about what happened with Ukraine and Russia. Like, they've had disagreements already within the first couple months of the administration.
What? But first of all, the president is the commander-in-chief, so he executes the running of the military.
I'm just saying that
he's the operationals manager, right?
I understand that.
And so when you want a military, you have recruitment going up, you have war games going up, you have morale going up. You have, by the way, how about this? Do you agree that physical fitness standards for men and women should be the same in the U.S. military?
Yes.
Pete Hegseth is to thank for that. He has brought physical fitness standards to be the same for men and women. Lloyd Austin didn't do that. Mark Milley didn't do that. Do you also agree that we should not have transgender pronoun type policing of our military members on the front lines of combat?
See, the thing is
Pete Hegseth has gotten rid of all that, but I'm saying you're trying to make a contention that he's not qualified. Okay. The military is in a much better place thanks to him only after 100 days, man. And that's that is the weakest example of all the ones that you have in the cabinet. You didn't address Rubio, you didn't address Noem, you didn't address Bessent, you didn't address Lutnick, you didn't address Bobby Kennedy, you didn't address all these people. So I have to ask you a question.
I can continue addressing people.
But every one of these departments is in a substantially and an empirically better place than it was.
Okay, including the Department of Education that's been completely defunded, and somebody who literally
I'm so glad it's being defunded.
Okay, I bet you are, but guess what? Most Americans aren't, and that's the reality.
Wrong. Donald Trump.
Okay, yeah, just because you have a bunch of people here saying that doesn't mean that's the reality.
Let me prove it to you. Donald Trump ran on a pledge to get rid of the Department of Education. We can agree with that?
No,
yes or no?
Yes.
Yes. He won a popular vote. The vast majority of people voted knowing that the Department of Education was going to get eliminated.
If you truly believe that the vast majority of people were educated enough about the fact of Donald Trump's opinion
voters
on the
aren't very
Department
smart. Now that's what we're going after.
No, I'm simply just responding to what you said. What you said
Insult
is that
the voters. They don't know.
No, I know a lot of people that voted for Trump who had absolutely no idea that he was going to defund the. And of course, this is just an anecdote, but I know that this is the truth. Not everybody, when they vote, looks at every single little thing and every little aspect, like you and I might, of why we would vote for somebody. We're both political commentators.
Right. Fine. And as a political commentator, then I will argue more forcefully against you, because now you're not just like a college kid searching for this. Has education in America improved or gotten worse since the Department of Education was formed?
It has literally been 3 months. I have absolutely no idea.
Since the Department of Education was formed in the 70s. We now have 50 years of evidence. Has American education gotten better since we've had a Department of Education, or has it gotten worse?
I personally don't think that has to do with the Department of Education.
Well, when you've spent over $4.5 trillion with one federal department, and we have 30 schools in Chicago where a fifth grader cannot read at grade level. We have 35 schools in Baltimore where kids cannot do math or reading at grade level. We cannot find a single school, not a single school in downtown Detroit, where by the time they graduate high school in the heavily black areas that they're proficient in reading or math. We are now like 31st in the industrialized world of education. We spend more in education than almost any other country per capita, and yet our results are worse. Maybe it's because we sent all this money to DC to overly centralize the way we educate, and the Department of Education has been a complete disaster. And so we can go anywhere you want with this discussion.
I'm just going to say one more thing about this and we can move on. And thank you for talking to me for this long. I really appreciate it. But you're talking about like people that are coming from poor backgrounds where education in their families is not a part of the way that they're raised. Of course, they're going to be the ones that have a lower...
No, that's not correct. You see,
I highly doubt it.
The competing Catholic schools in the same area that do it for 2/3 less money, almost all the kids can read by the time they graduate middle school.
And where does that money come from?
Well, sometimes from charter schools, taxpayers, or from private donors. So take, for example, in downtown Chicago or downtown Philadelphia, the private Catholic school can educate a kid for around $12,000 a year. Philadelphia, it's about $30,000 a year, and none of the kids can read. So the local religious schools, they have kids that are less likely to be unruly, less likely to commit crimes. They're more likely to graduate high school and college. They can read and they could do math, and yet the local public school spends triple what the local Catholic school does, and they can't do any of that stuff. Why? Because a government-run program of education has been a failure in this country, and that's what President Trump is doing by abolishing the Department of Education.
Okay, so how, if there's no public, I'm not saying that the public education system is perfect. I'm saying that having... I think the privatization of public things in general is bad, and obviously that's a very...
Why would you say that? So, I mean that's just... we can go through the list of that, but...
Because it's not... Because getting rid of, for example, DEI, or getting rid of... And again, I'm not super pro-DEI.
Where did you grow up?
I grew up in California. I'll put it that way.
I'll try to apply it to yours. Like where?
Okay, I grew up in one of the most expensive towns in California.
Okay, Montecito. I don't know. I'm guessing.
Yeah, no, something like that. I don't want to talk because I'm a political commentator. I'm not saying my name, but I will tell you.
Fine, but
that seeing that we had three 82-inch TVs in my school for a public school, when other kids in Compton had absolutely nothing, and I know a big part of that is because...
why is that? It's property taxes, right? And so, yes. However, let's just get down to the core of it, which is that in San Diego, are the private schools or the public schools more desirable?
It's kind of complicated because we have charter schools that are public, we have like High Tech High. We have
people pay money to go to private school, right? For a reason. So what is our perspective? The money should follow the child. You should have school choice. You should be able to go to whatever the school of your choosing, and it works super well.
But the good private schools that you talk about these ones in Chicago with cherry-picked data. When we're talking about San Diego, they cost about $40,000 a year.
It's not cherry-picked data.
It is cherry-picked data. Talking about a single example of a Catholic school that's publicly funded or funded by donors.
There's hundreds of these examples.
Okay,
right?
Hundreds of these examples, but the reality is that the majority of them, you have to pay an exorbitant amount of money in order to get into them.
Right. So then what per capita, per pupil in San Diego, what do you think they charge per student in the public school? Anywhere between $25,000 to $35,000.
I have no idea, and I don't think that it has anything to do with the debate we're having.
No, it has everything to do with it. And I'll just close with this. So there's 21 million people that work for the government in this country, 11 million in education. 11 million in education. How many of the 11 million do you think are teachers?
I see, you're just coming up. Look,
no, it's super.
Can you repeat your question? Because I thought we were going to continue, because we barely talked about anything I want to talk about.
Well, no, I mean, we did freewheeling. That's what this is, right? So there's 11 million people that work in education in America. How many would you guess are teachers?
I'm assuming that it's very bloated, and I'm just going to guess that 2 million are teachers.
Yeah, it's about 2 to 3. It's like 3.5 to 4 million. So that means that 7 million people that work in education are unnecessary administrators and paper pushers. And why is that important? Because we've not been funding teachers or education the last 30 years. We've been funding unnecessarily bureaucracy in our education the last 30 or 40 years. And President Trump goes to abolish it. Thank you for your time. I got to get to the next question. Thank you. Hello.
Hi. My name's Ellie. Overall, just to go into my question, I am conservative. So going into this, I was like, what should I ask you about? I think overall, I was going through different policies, and in general, I agree. Ultimately, I think the topic of my question is how to approach politics in school and in general with this function. I've found that a lot of times when I talk to people who are on the other side of me, they are surprised to find out what I think, and my ideas are not that crazy. It's like when you actually get into the meat of it, it's like, oh, actually, maybe it does make sense. And so I think it's really valuable to start giving these ideas to the world. And so this is one of these options. But I guess my question is this the best way? Because when I hear, like, for example, on Reddit, they're like, don't approach him, don't do this, he's just doing that, he's doing this, he's doing that, he's using all these tactics. And so I wonder if you've considered, not to say that this is a bad way to go about it, but if there's maybe a slightly better way. Because I think what you're saying has a lot of value in this world, but it's like in this school specifically, it is thought of as evil and as like not like a valid way to think.
That's a UC San Diego problem, not a Charlie Kirk problem, right?
No, and it's not, and it's not to say it's a problem of you. No.
And I meaning, like, I read there was some op-ed journalist where they said ignore Charlie, ignore him. Well, what they're saying is that they are not either smart enough or they're not intellectually mature enough to have a discussion with a conservative on any issue. I have literally almost no notes. I have like a couple charts to show you if the topics come up. You guys can use AI, you guys can use Grok, you could do whatever you want. You could bring a professor, you could bring 5 of your top libs together, debate me, right?
Yeah.
Other side? Okay,
Yeah.
Thank you. And you guys can debate me at any time. I fail to understand why, well, actually I know the reason. Speech is not a left-wing value. And they do not believe in freedom of speech, they believe in totalitarian control. There are exceptions to that. So if they have a problem, I think this is one of the best ways, not the best way. I literally could not be more open to disagreement. I say if you disagree, you go to the front of the line.
Yeah.
And I mean, how often do you as conservatives get a chance to challenge liberals on campus, right? And being welcomed, ever?
Oh, absolutely, almost never. Definitely
because
not in
speech
class.
is not a left-wing value.
No, but to say that, I mean, with all of that being said, it is very true. But ultimately, what happens here is I see a lot of, like, the ideas just being like bubbled against. And so like when I talk to my friends, their ideas aren't changed from these conversations. And so I wonder if there's just like a...
You would be surprised. I'm sorry to interrupt. Mm-hmm. What happens here gets seen hundreds of millions of times on social media.
Absolutely, yes.
The crowds are growing. And so look, some people are going to remain closed-minded. They're not going to, have their horizons open. But that's on them, right? They have to actually want to pursue the truth and not just have their own worldview confirmed.
And then I guess that's where I disagree, because I think fundamentally there is truth within anything, and I believe that maybe I would ask you like to see that like you have a big role in this. You have a big fan base and a big media base that you are making incredible change, and to take it just one step further would be really trying to push the narrative against this being like a place where people are just like debating. It's more than that.
What would you like to see?
I guess maybe it's more of a question. I guess, I don't know, moving forward, like trying to maybe to see that like instead of using these really fast tactics and to really like try to bring it down, not to say someone is, not to say that they're, no.
I disagree with all that. That's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, you're thinking way too much about libs on Reddit. I care about normal people, so.
No,
yeah.
But
I mean, you did bring up Reddit. I'm sorry. You're like.
No, I guess that's true. No, and I guess
so
maybe.
These people are not well socially adjusted, right? I talk to the 90% of the American people that actually want to make something in their life and have kids and.
No, and I couldn't agree more with that like stance. I guess maybe stepping away from Reddit, it's to me the people on this campus. This is a school I go to, and almost everyone I'm surrounded with has a completely different view from me, and
not everybody.
No, and this is like, but this like the people here, to find them, it feels like you're like sifting through a needle in a haystack.
You want a hat?
Sure.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next question. Disagreements, come to the front of the line. Yes.
So I have a couple points that I want to talk about in illegal immigration. Is it okay if I say all of them with no interruptions? Okay, cool. So first, illegal immigrants power our economy. They're 50% of U.S. farm workers, harvesting the food on our tables, and fill 70% of construction jobs in states like Texas. They pay $13 billion annually in taxes, including $2 billion to Social Security that they can't claim. Deporting them would slash agricultural output by $60 billion and raise food prices by 6%. Why gut our farms and wallets when these workers fuel our prosperity? That's my first point. Second point, they strengthen our communities with lower crime rates. So in Texas, undocumented immigrants have a 26 lower percent homicide conviction rates. So, which is 2.2 per 100,000 versus 3 for native-born citizens. Nationally, immigrants are incarcerated at half the rate of native-born, where it's 0.85% versus 1.71%. That's according to Bureau of Justice Statistics from 2019. So if safety is your goal, why deport people who make our streets safer? This is my third point. Mass deportation tears apart American families. Over 4.4 million U.S. citizens, children have an undocumented parent, and in Texas, 1 in 7 kids lives in a mixed status household. Okay, this is my fourth point. Deportation is a fiscal nightmare. Removing 11 million people would cost 315 to 400 billion, more than the entire Homeland Security budget, and shrink our GDP by 1.7 trillion over 10 years. And this is my last point. Our immigration system is broken, pushing people to cross illegally. Visa waits Mexicans can exceed 20 years, and the asylum blockage is 1.3 million cases, with hearings 4 to 6 years out. Okay.
You done?
That's pretty much it. Yeah.
All right, so without looking at the phone, look at me. What
Sure.
should the penalty be for breaking into America?
I think there should be a system where it's more merit-based. So if this
No,
person
penalty. So what is the penalty? So what should happen
it's a
to you?
felony. It's not a felony. It's a
No,
misdemeanor.
it is. That's not true. It's 8
it-
USC
it's a
1312. You can
misdemeanor.
look it up right now.
It's a felony if it's done twice. If
No,
you
no,
try to
it's
cross
not
the border,
correct.
that is correct.
That is not correct.
Correct. I googled it, dude.
To illegally go across the southern border with the well intent to come into harbor yourself into the interior of the United States, the violation of 8 USC 1312, which
Okay.
is a felony in the federal criminal code. Now, it can be enforced as a misdemeanor, or it can be
Yeah.
upwards to 5 years in prison. Now, I want to know, since it's a felony, law in the
Sure.
books, 8 USC 1312,
Yeah.
what should the penalty be?
Well, in my opinion, these kinds of laws are usually they're what do you call it? They're sorry. Usually the sorry. Wait, sorry. Can I check my phone real quick? I apologize. Can you repeat the question? Sorry.
What should the penalty be
Okay.
for someone that breaks or comes into America illegally? What should the penalty be?
I think there should be a merit system where the people. Okay, the
Not
penalty.
answer.
All right, let's.
That's
the penalty.
not the
So-
answer. It's a very simple moral
Okay.
and legal question.
Okay,
What
sure.
should the penalty be if you come into America illegally?
Okay, so since it's a misdemeanor, not a felony, misdemeanors
I
are.
just
that's
told
not
you it's
true,
not 8.
dude.
You can look up on
That's
your
not
chat
true.
GPT what is
Yeah,
8
yeah.
USC. Look up what is 8 USC 1312.
No, I know. I've already looked it up.
Yes,
When it's your second time crossing the border illegally, then it becomes a felony.
it can be, and it is enforced as a felony, and it usually is done as a misdemeanor citation because no one has the stones to do 20 million felony applications.
Okay.
So I just want to ask,
Yeah.
what should the penalty be then for someone that comes into this country illegally?
Usually there's 3 ways that go about this when there's a penalty. There's either like a fine, or there's some kind of public service that this person does, or you send them back. But
Send them back. I agree. That's what we should do.
Okay. So this is interesting. So one of the statistics that I read said that illegal immigrants don't cause as much they don't break the law as often as people who are native born.
Well, hold on, time
that
out.
is a statistic.
But
time out.
But
dude.
every single one of them are
not time
criminals.
out.
They're all criminals.
Okay, sure. By law.
Well, hold
by
on.
law.
No,
okay,
no.
by law, of course. Of course they are.
Wait, so
I
if
agree that they're-
they commit less crime and they're all criminals, wait a
Okay,
second.
so
By
you're basing it-
definition,
yeah.
they all have broken the law by being here, and they break
Okay.
the law every day by staying here because you're
Okay.
actually not allowed to stay here either. Do you know that?
Yeah,
so
yeah,
every
yeah.
day you're here, you're actually continually breaking the law. You can't break in or harbor. That's what the federal law says.
Okay.
So by breaking in, it's not just the only law they broke. Every second you remain here, you're also
Yeah.
breaking the law. So that statistic is invalidated by just them breathing here. They're breaking the law.
No, of course not. Of course not. So, of course, it makes sense for them when they're here. They're breaking the law because they're illegal immigrants, obviously. But once they're of course. So once they're here, once they are here, what kind of harm are they actually doing? When you look at the numbers statistically,
lot.
No, that's not true. Okay,
Black
so look,
wages have
in
gone
Texas,
down.
Okay, in Texas,
DUIs have gone up dramatically.
Try not to interrupt, bro.
Well,
okay,
hold
so
on. I'm interjecting, and I let you go uninterrupted with your whole soliloquy,
true,
right?
yeah, thank you.
So let me ask you a question now.
Okay.
So, if it is correct
Yeah.
that illegal aliens commit less crimes, which of course it's not correct.
That is correct. Look it up. In
but
Texas, they made a study in 2019. 26% are
is
lower.
any crime? It's just not correct. But I'm
That
not
is
going to debate that.
correct.
It's I just proved it at its face because they commit a crime by being here every day. That is a crime.
Okay, once they are here, what kind of crimes are they committing? Which is
Okay. Well,
they're 26%.
okay. Do you know the name
less.
Laken Riley?
No, educate me.
Oh, you don't.
No.
Do you know? Wow. Do you know the name Rachel Morin?
No, I don't.
Wow.
Educate
Okay.
me. What
So
kind of...
Laken Riley was a girl at the University of Georgia.
Okay.
There was a peeping Tommy, a legal alien, that was deported 5 times prior, and Biden kept on letting him back in. He hunted her down, raped her, sodomized her, and murdered her on a hiking trail, University of Georgia.
Okay, so
Rachel,
one person doesn't represent all
hold on a
illegal
second.
immigrants.
Every person who is killed by an illegal alien is one that should not happen. Every single one.
Of course, and also the ones that are
and
native born.
everyeveryone.
As
And
well
so
as
that's
the
the
ones who are
point.
native born.
Is that it's not a matter
as well
of the
as people who are
rate.
native born.
The rate, even if I accept your premise, which is incorrect, the rate is irrelevant. The number is what's relevant. There should be 0 illegal aliens. There should be 0 Americans being killed by illegals.
So, okay.
Not to mention there's 6 other problems with the illegal aliens. They steal Social Security numbers. They depress wages. They are heavily involved. By the way, not to mention, a lot of people that cross on the southern border are also smuggling girls, weapons, and drugs alongside the southern border when they come. It's the largest slavery operation in American history that many illegal aliens help make possible on the southern border. And I guess the final question I'll have is, should a government serve its citizens first and foremost?
Yeah, of course. Well, okay, there's been many people who are like very political leaders who have said that this place is built off of immigrants.
Oh, is it? Wait, hold on. Let's think about that.
Sure.
First of all, it's legal, not illegal. But was America founded by immigrants or settlers?
Settlers.
That's not an immigrant.
Yeah. Okay.
An
Well, that's not
immigrant
my
is-
point. My point is
You
that
just
people
brought
who-
up the nation built by immigrants.
Yeah,
We're
because
actually
people,
not.
because the political leaders have said that this place is built.
Yeah, and they're
from
wrong.
They're wrong. Political
yes.
leaders are wrong. George
Yes.
W. Bush is wrong. All these political leaders
Yes.
who have built
yes.
America.
By the way, the
wrong.
first person to say that was.
How is that wrong? When illegal
'cause
immigrants make, they grow the economy.
Okay,
Statistically,
allow me
studies.
Allow me to build it out for you.
Sure.
Immigrants have helped at times in American history, but we are first and foremost a nation founded by settlers. Immigrants come to a country already built. Settlers come to a barren place and build something new.
Right.
This land was barren when people came. In the 1840s gold rush, this was not an easy place to live.
Yeah.
California was not exactly industrialized. There was not immigrants coming west to California. Those were settlers building a new place around, Western values. Finally, I would just ask the question, do you see a moral distinction between a legal immigrant and an illegal immigrant?
Well, the argument is that they're cutting in line. Like their argument is that they're cutting in line in the 20-year process that it would take for someone to cross here legally.
It's not 20, but yeah.
At most it's 20. Right now there's around like 1.2 million people who are currently waiting that would take 6 to 7 years for a hearing.
And by the way, no one has a right to come to this country,
Of
just
course,
to be
wait,
clear.
let me stay
And-
on track of what I was gonna say. Okay, so people who come here usually, almost all the time when they come here, they benefit society. There's studies that have done this.
Not
There's
necessarily.
okay, not necessarily, but overall in general.
But no,
when you look overall
I
in general, you look at the
fundamentally
statistics.
disagree with that.
You can't
I mean,
disagree with a fact.
Hold on. Do you think Elon Omar has enriched the United States of America?
I don't know who.
Do you think Rashida Tlaib?
Uh huh.
I mean, I could go through person
Wait,
by
are
person
these,
by person.
Sorry, I don't know these people. Are these people who have are illegal immigrants that have caused harm?
Yeah, if you don't know, I don't mean to pick on you. It's fine.
Okay,
But I
thanks.
guess the final question is,
Sure.
do you have any concern that there are too many people coming into this country and we're a nation of strangers, not a nation of neighbors?
If the people who are coming are creating America, making it more growing, like the economy is growing, then what harm is that doing? Especially if the people
because
who
we're
are
more
coming
than
are
an
not.
economy, though, aren't we? We're a culture. We're a language.
Yeah,
we're
of
a
course.
people.
Okay, so let's talk about that front. When they come here, they don't have any kind of. They're not committing as more crimes than the people who are already here. That is a
We've
statistic
already
done.
dispelled that, but
That
do
is not- you can't
in
dispel a
California,
statistic.
Let's
What are
take
you talking
California.
about?
You
can't-
do you think there's anything wrong that a majority of young people in California speak Spanish, not English?
Wait, sorry. Can you see the?
Do you think there's anything wrong or troubling to the fact that a majority of people under the age of 30 here in this state speak Spanish, not English? Is there a problem with that?
Well, yeah, everyone should be able to have a ability to communicate with the rest of the crowd. So I don't know what the big issue of that
See, I think
is.
it's a huge problem when we have a nation where you can't communicate
Sure.
with your fellow
Okay.
neighbor.
Simple solution: teach them how to speak English. What is
Well,
your
yeah, and
point?
our schools don't do that actually. And also, how about better solution?
Yeah.
Don't import a bunch of people that don't speak English.
You mean importing people who actually grow the economy?
Well, but,
who
again,
don't
reject.
What?
I reject your premise. We are
That's
more
not
than
a premise. That's a study that's been done.
Do
What
you
are
know what a
talking
premise is?
about?
I don't actually care as much about economic growth because
You
we're
don't
one
care
nation
about- you
under.
don't care about
We're one
economic
nation under
growth.
GDP. We're not one nation under GDP. We're a nation under God.
Yeah.
And when we lose social cohesion, and you import a bunch of people that don't share our values, that don't necessarily always assimilate, that's a major and serious problem. And we are a people first and foremost with a creed, and that creed is falling apart. Mass migration has not helped that creed. Yes, they might buy more trinkets. They might help depress wages. Mass migration, of course, can
Right,
help
all
them.
good things, all great
Well, hold
things
on.
for America
They,
that needs.
well, they help major corporations, but you know what they also do? They keep down the wages of working people. If you are a plumber, yes, of course. If you think about it, if you're a plumber, electrician, or a welder, and you have to compete against someone from Nicaragua who's willing to do it for $5 less an hour,
Yeah.
that depresses the wages of the American citizen.
Right. Yeah. So there's been studies that done that also like counteract that. Illegal immigrants.
Well, let's
only
use our reason.
Illegal.
Hold
No,
on, let's
no.
use
Let's
our
look at our
reason.
studies.
Let's
how
use
about,
our
how about
reason.
statistics?
How about our reason? So we've had mass migration for 20 years. Have wages gone up?
I don't know.
No, they haven't actually. So
okay.
forget your studies. For 10 years
Forget your studies.
we've had 30 million people come into America. Wages have gone down dramatically.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a reason why.
Okay. Okay.
So what I encourage you to do, just because there's a study that confirms, you should use your reason and look actually at self-evident truths. Be like, does that make sense? Can you name
Statistics are self-evident.
Well,
truths.
not always. Statistics are
Not
very
always?
misleading. Yes, like for example, I could say, did you know that 600 people a year die because of seatbelts? Well, that's a misleading statistic because over 100,000 lives are saved by seatbelts. That's an incomplete statistic.
Wait, okay, so where's the so that's a gray area. So where's the gray area where people are talking about where 26% of illegal immigrants who come here commit less crimes than native born?
Okay, we have how many times have we been over this? That's just not correct.
Well,
it's
that
not
is
true.
correct. That is correct.
Every single crime. It doesn't
this
matter about
is a
the
study
rate.
that was done in Texas, the most diverse,
Again.
second most diverse state.
Every crime an illegal commits is one that should never have happened. It
Okay.
is a period.
course,
they
of
should
course.
not be here. So
I
I don't
agree.
care about the rate. The rate is irrelevant. So let me just ask one final
The rate
question.
is relevant.
Someone broke into the country and cut in line. What should happen to them?
Well, they're given. Ideally, there's a system. Ideally, there's a system that's merit-based, where these people then become part of the citizen. Like they become a legal citizen.
Yeah, I mean, we have clarity but not agreement. I say deport them all back to their country of
I don't
origin
think
and
that's
put
not
Americans
that's
first.
That's not an appropriate solution. When
well, the
no.
American people voted for it, and
Most
it is appropriate.
People, it isn't appropriate because most of the people that do come here illegally contribute positively to
Again,
society.
they-
Not again,
they are-
dude. Statistically,
I have
everything
been
backs
through-
this.
You're not
Everything
listening to
backs
anything
it.
I'm saying, and that's fine. They take jobs from Americans. They depress wages. They steal Social Security numbers. They commit a crime every single day that they're here. They flood our public schools. They flood our social services. They flood our hospitals. They are a burden on the taxpayer. They should go back and make their own country great again and apply and become a legal immigrant if they want to live here. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next question, yeah. Hi. Wow, that's aggressive.
All right.
Okay, jeez.
Perfect.
Get that guy a Valium or something. Xanax. Jeez.
We good? All right. Good morning. So I am conservative, but there is one thing that I did want to debate you on. So you say that college is a scam and that so many students go hundreds of thousands in debt and useless degrees. I completely agree with that. My question is, why is it on the institutions and colleges and not on the students, since we as conservatives always focus on personal responsibility? When a quick
That's a
Google
great
search
question. Yeah,
worked.
it should also be on the students as well.
All right. Is there any thing about the universities and universities should be doing then, since it is a capitalist society and they are trying to get profits?
Yeah, I think that, I mean, I don't know what the endowment is here, but I think that the endowment should be used to help repay kids' student loans that they scammed. I think the fact that Harvard is sitting on $55 billion, I think that we should take the endowment money from places like Harvard, Princeton, and Yale and help kids pay off their student loans because they've been so severely scammed by the system.
And what can students do? I mean, there's Google, there's tons of things that I think personal responsibility is a huge issue that a lot of students that I know are blaming it on the universities when they pick degrees that don't have much money or job opportunity or things like that. What should students be doing?
Say that again? Sorry.
What should students be doing since it is a personal responsibility? And a lot of students are blaming the universities and colleges for tricking them when a quick Google search would suffice.
Yeah, it's hard to say. I mean, again, that's why I don't think as many people should be going to college.
Yeah,
And so,
I agree with that.
yeah.
All right, thank you.
I'll sign your hat. Thank you. Yep. All right, disagreements, you guys can come up. Yep. Yes, if you guys disagree, come on to the front. Come on.
Hi, Charlie. Thank you so much for coming here. I think it's really good that you come to campuses and talk to people who disagree with you. I also think it's like a testament, like you've like gotten a really big following, and it's a testament to the fact that capitalism works and merit-based societies work, that we can actually grow our influence. And yeah, so I agree with you with a lot of things, but I do disagree with you with like 2 or 3 particular points. And I hope to like go touch on all of them. Firstly, it's about morality and the fact that your claim that objective morality exists. I disagree with that. I think morality is relative for everyone or subjective, and it kind of like grows as with the culture and as the culture changes. So yeah, what are your thoughts about that, and how do you justify objective morality?
Do you believe in absolute truth?
What do you mean by absolute truth?
Absolute truth, like that there is truth absolute for all people.
Yes.
You do? Okay, that's objective morality.
That's objective facts. I won't say that's morality.
Okay, so do I have permission to ask you a provocative question?
Sure.
Was-
I know what you're going to ask.
Okay, fine. I mean, was Hitler objectively wrong?
No. So, I do...
Was the Holocaust objectively evil?
I want to like make a distinction between like my personal views that I do feel that it is wrong, but I can't say that it is like objectively wrong because I don't believe that objective morality exists. Like can I ask you like why do you think objective morality exists, and how do you like ground that objective morality in?
Well, first, of course, we believe that the Lord of the heavens and the earth gave us that objective reality through revelation.
Okay.
But secondly, we believe it's written on the heart of every human. You know, in Nuremberg, it's very interesting. When they did the Nuremberg trials, and the Nazis basically said, well, in our country it was right, therefore it's right. Do you know that in Nuremberg they rejected that? They said, no, every human being knows that killing 6 million, babies and kids is wrong. And so do you think there's anything built into us of a moral compass that prevents us from doing evil and we have to try to stifle it?
I think there are moral intuitions that everyone has, but again, like those moral intuitions can differ from person to person, right? Like I might say that, like I don't know, like doing something is wrong, but like someone else might say, oh, it's fine in this situation. So like, how do you distinguish? Like, so it's obviously subjective, right? Like everyone might have their own opinions on what is right and what is wrong. So how do you how do you make a framework that says that, like, these are the rules of what is right and what is wrong, and like how do you ground
The
that?
more important question is, do you believe in God? Which I guess you do not.
I'm agnostic. Like,
Yeah, okay, so that's where, okay, so if you don't believe in, this actually, what's your name? Sorry.
Abhinav.
Yeah, well, you're making a great argument. And your argument is totally correct, which is that if you don't believe in God, then you cannot say that the Holocaust was wrong. In order to believe that, in order to believe something is objectively wrong, you must believe in God. Because if you believe in God, then you believe that there's a transcendent moral order that is over all of us. And you're proving that point, and it's not even a criticism. You are being consistent.
Okay.
And to your point, which is that, so we believe that there is a God that has rules for life. We believe that was given to Moses primarily at Mount Sinai. Thou shalt not murder, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not commit adultery. And that every society and every culture lives under that natural law. And so, but it's very interesting that if we get away from the idea of a belief in God and the transcendent, you can see how dangerous that is for society, right?
I wouldn't say it's dangerous because it really depends on what the morals the society adopts and like what their constitution is, what their values are. I don't know why that needs to be grounded in religion.
Well, so let me ask, okay, so would you say that murder is bad? Yes?
I would say that.
By
yeah.
what standard do you measure bad?
I would say that like it's based on my environment, how I was raised, like what my cultural beliefs are, like how everyone else morality has influenced my morality. So it's like I believe that like for example, like I think you brought this up in some other debate that like some tribes might are okay with child sacrifice or
Yep.
cannibalism or things like that, right? So for them that is okay. For me, it's not, right? It really depends on what society we grow up in, I think.
Yeah, so child sacrifice is not something you think that is objectively wrong.
I'm just trying to understand how do I
Let's
ground
pay attention up here,
objective?
guys. Thanks.
How do we ground what is objective? And also, you brought up a point that like if you do believe in God, then we do have objective morality, right? And you obviously believe in Christianity. But my point is like if, for example, a different religion has different morals, how do you determine which one is objective? Because both will think that it's objective, right? So how do you make that determination?
It's a great question. Well, first you have to look at, sorry, there's just a side show going on here. You have to look at the proof and the fruit of which that moral system has delivered.
Okay.
And so, are you from India? I don't mean
Yeah,
to, okay.
I'm from Delhi.
Do you, can I ask you a provocative question? I don't mean to offend you by any way, but
Sure.
do you think that the moral system of India or the moral system of America, which is better?
What do you mean by moral system? Like, can
Caste
you give
system.
me some? Yeah, I disagree with the caste system.
Got it. So you disagree with it, but is there something objectively evil and wrong with saying that 200 million people are permanently in poverty?
Again, I want to ask you, like, how do we ground objectivity? Like, for example, for scientific theories, like we can like conduct experiments and say, okay, it's objectively true. But like for morality, like it depends person to, like for example, people living in India at that time, for them it might have been okay, right? So like, how do we ground the objectivity? Like
You have,
yeah.
you have to believe in God. You have to
Okay.
believe in a power, more specifically a monotheistic one.
Okay, why is that?
Well, because if you have many gods, polytheism, you have many moralities. And if one God, one morality. So that's why ethical monotheism founded America. And so, of course, it's a faith claim in some ways, but we can use science also to get us pretty close to believing in God, from space, time, and matter, from the teleological argument for God, for how all the fine-tuning of our universe exists. But then in order, once you believe in a God, then you can then say there is an objective morality. If you don't believe in God, your position is correct. It's
But,
all just context.
I do disagree with one thing that like because there are multiple religions, right? Multiple monotheistic religions. So how do you determine which monotheistic religion is true?
So, well, why is mine true? Because
Yeah.
because the resurrection is the most documented, followed, and proven fact of history. Of all the different things, is that the resurrection of Jesus Christ is by far the most compelling event in human history besides the creation of the world. Is that we know Jesus existed, we know that he was killed, we have extra biblical sources that prove it, from Josephus, from the Talmud, to the historians of the day, and there are so many facts surrounding the resurrection that cannot be explained other than that Jesus actually rose from the dead. From Wayu's female witnesses, we know that he was in the tomb of Joseph of Arimathea. We know that the tomb was empty. Where did Jesus' body go? For example, if you wanted to disprove Christianity, why didn't they just march through the streets with Jesus' corpse and say, nope, actually he is not risen from the dead. Here he is right now. From all these different elements, we stake all of our chips as Christians into the resurrection of Jesus Christ. Amongst many other things, that the Bible is materially true every time that we do an archaeological discovery in the Middle East. The more that we discover, the more that we search in the Middle East, the more we find out that the Bible is true.
Okay, so your belief is basically based on the truth value of Christianity, basically, right? And like the fact that like you believe that your religion is true, and therefore that's where you derive your morality from, right?
Partially, yes, but
Okay.
even before that, you don't have to believe in the resurrection to believe in God.
Okay.
You can believe in God and not believe in the resurrection.
So
but
if
you
I-
asked me why I believe in Christianity.
So, for example, there are a lot of arguments. For example, the cosmological argument or teleological argument that you mentioned, which do not really do not refer to like a particular god, right? It just refers to God in general.
Correct.
So,
And-
how do you derive morality from just the existence of God without associating it with a particular religion?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So you can use reason that if there is a God, then God would want us to live a certain way. And which way is best, which way is most efficacious. This is not my argument for it, but this would be a more deistic morality that some of the founding fathers had, that if there is a God, well, then he probably wouldn't want us to screw up this place too much. He wouldn't want us to hurt each other, right? You can use your reason to get to that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And it's not a perfect fit. The Christian answer is a far better one, right? And a lot of what we consider to be correct moral thinking is rooted from a belief in objective morality.
That's fine, but like then you would have to contend with things like the problem of evil, right? Because that would be like a problem, right? Because like, for example, the Christian theistic, like the God is like all good, right? But
yes, but sorry to interrupt, but atheists have a problem of evil too. Do you know what the problem of evil is for the atheists? They can't tell us what evil is.
That is
right?
true. Yeah.
That is true.
Yeah.
So we have a problem of evil, which is to explain evil. We struggle with that. Atheists have a problem with evil, which is they can't tell us what is evil or good.
But that's because they don't believe in objective.
Exactly. So, but that's a bigger problem. So they can't even use the problem of evil against us because by what definition do they consider something evil? They can use a problem of suffering because suffering is objectively measured, right? Pain or struggle. So yeah, I mean, look, the problem of evil, I don't have a great answer. I'm not going to like give an answer that no one's ever given. Evil actually, you could argue, is an absence of a good thing. Evil itself does not necessarily exist. It's just the absence of good, the same way that dark is the absence of life. But look, we as Christians, we have a couple things that are very hard to answer, right? Problem of evil and like why kids die. I mean, amongst many other things, right? Atheists have to explain everything else. They have to explain why we're here, how the earth was created, love, mercy, justice, forgiveness, everlasting life. And so we do have an answer in the Christian faith that God uses all things for good for those who loves him. God works in mysterious ways is the old thing that we say. But also we also believe in original sin. But all of that actually appeals that there is a transcendent good. Evil itself does not disprove God. It might question what you think of God and the nature of God, but itself does not necessarily disprove it.
Okay, thank you. I did have like one more point.
Yeah, and then we'll get to the next question. Very good though. Yeah.
Very quickly, like you mentioned that like the previous person also talked about. You believe that like university is a scam, right? I just wanted to like ask you specifically, like what aspects do you think are a scam? Like, do you think all majors are a scam, all universities are a scam?
Not necessarily, but I mean, half the kids in this audience, if they get a job, they'll end up getting a job that does not require a college degree. And I mean, you think about that. I mean, by the way, the national graduation rate's only 59%. 41% of people that enter college do not graduate. So
I do agree with you that the tuition part of it can like nowadays, like on the internet, you can find almost any information. I do believe that like the utility of universities is the networking that you can do with peers as well as like industry professionals, and also the resources that universities provide, especially for the STEM subjects. And I wanted to ask you, like, since you...
Really quick, yep.
Yeah, last question.
Last question.
I wanted to ask you, like, since you did not, like, go to university and, like, you built this entire big organization yourself, how did you tackle those networking challenges? And, like, how did you, like, step by step build up to this?
Phenomenal question. You find somebody you want to go meet, and you go find them. You don't need to go to college to meet important people. You literally can be like, okay, what do I want to do? Who's the best person in my local area? Find out what charities are involved. Call their office. Show up at their office. You'd be amazed at how many people are willing to work with you and meet you, but you don't need to necessarily go to college to be able to do that networking opportunity. Thank you so much. Very good. Do you want a hat? Yeah. Okay, thank you. Excellent questions. Very thoughtful, my friend. Thank you. That's how it should be. Give it up for him. That was really good, everybody. All right, next question.
All right. So I would like to ask you about for abortions, right? How do we explain to those who are for it? How do we explain that even I don't know if you believe this or not, but in terms of like a rape or unintentional or really unconsented pregnancies, can we say that we should still be anti-abortion in that scenario?
Yes.
What's your grounds for that? And how would I explain it to someone else?
Sure, it's a good question. Let's say I have two ultrasounds here. One is an ultrasound of a baby from a loving marriage. The other one is a baby conceived in rape. Which one is which?
We can't exactly tell.
So they're both human beings.
Right.
They both deserve human rights.
Okay. But then what is if someone pushes back against with the idea? Do I? Oh. What is if someone pushes back with the idea that now, in terms of the mother, right, one of them was willingly conceived while the other one was a forced conceived?
Yeah, I mean, that's a fair argument. The question then should be, when, if ever, in your moral universe, is it okay to do something evil after an evil act to try to make that evil act correct?
But how about in terms of, what if we're in the position of the mother, and she is, I don't want to take the risk of illness, death, or whatever to have this child.
Sure, so it's a little bit of a false choice because they're acting as if the termination of the pregnancy will have no consequences or costs. A lot of women that get abortions have regret. Women die when they get abortions. They have a lot of their health issues. It's not just like getting a haircut. So it's a little bit of a false choice. But we come after it from a very basic moral argument. There are two lives involved. There's a little life and a grown life. And no one has the right to eliminate a human life in utero, period.
So then at that point, now we're forcing someone to do something that they never consented to, never wanted to do. How isn't this violating their human autonomy?
Well, again, but eliminating the human being would also violate the baby's autonomy too, wouldn't it?
Well, then we would have to ask, right? Maybe in future years we will have the technology to be able to extract a fetus and grow a fetus outside of the uterus, but given our state of medicine right now, we do not have that.
Sure. I mean, but again, no one is delighting or rejoicing in these circumstances. I mean, it's a terrible situation. I want to reiterate that. But you have a unspeakably difficult choice that is very morally, clear though, which is that you don't eliminate a human being because an awful action happened.
Are you saying that as someone who can get... Well, I guess my pushback against that would be then if we say that it's entirely wrong, right? We're sacrificing someone's choice for someone's life, which is admirable, but...
It's also morally correct. You don't get to murder someone smaller than you if it makes your life difficult.
But then we can't exactly... See, the fetus does not have autonomy. It cannot exist outside of the uterus
doesn't
quite
matter.
yet.
Human dignity does not correlate with dependency. So dignity and dependency are not two things corrected. You have human dignity because you're a human being, not because how dependent you are.
So would you say that viability happens when...
Viability is irrelevant.
So then at what point does human life begin then?
Conception.
Conception, not even sperm or
That's conception.
eggs? Okay.
That's conception. That's
Well, I just wanted to get
when an
that
egg is fertilized. When an egg is fertilized, human life begins.
Okay, so then when it's still a single cell with both chromosomes pairings, right?
Well, it creates new DNA, right? So once the sperm and egg meet, literally something magical and inexplicable happens where new DNA is formed.
Okay, and then what happens? So then...
Then it attaches to the uterine wall, and I can go through the whole gestational process.
All right, so then we have the basis of human life. Now, what is if within the uterus, now that life is still alive, but is unable to proceed to, like, let's say, actual birth due to some medical situation that has happened?
Well, has the baby died without outside intervention or with outside intervention?
Let's say that
is it an ectopic pregnancy or what? You got to be very clear about the type of.
The amniotic sac has ruptured.
Yeah, that's an ectopic pregnancy, right? So yeah, you can remove the baby from that situation without aborting it. The baby will die outside of the womb, but you do not have to abort it. So those are two different things. The removal of a baby is what's called the cesarean section. You can do that very early on. Now, ectopic pregnancy is very real. It's very terrible. But you can solve an ectopic pregnancy outside of having an abortion.
But, okay, so then what creates an abortion? Is it the heartbeat, the removal of the fetus? What exactly is that?
I don't want to go too deep in this. Do you know what happens in an abortion? I mean, maybe you don't. They literally will break the back of the baby's skull, right? They will insert to the back a syringe of cyanide poisoning until the baby no longer... I mean, this is one of the most gruesome things. Everyone who's pro-choice, in my opinion, has a moral obligation to watch a video of an abortion just to know kind of what you're supporting. It's so beyond inexplicable. But yeah, look, really quick, what's the final question on this? Because I want to keep moving.
Oh, sure. So you didn't really finish the question of when can we do that procedure, right? if there's still a heartbeat,
I don't think we should ever do that procedure.
what happens if like now the mother's life is going to die in like the
Well,
next
it depe-
15
it depe-
minutes, but the baby is still having a heartbeat? What do we do at that
depends
point?
on, again, I don't want to speak to every specific. Some OBGYNs say abortion is never medically necessary. I'm not a professional enough to say that. But it depends how far advanced the woman is. If she's past 22 weeks, have a cesarean section. Try to have the baby live in NICU.
So there are situations where abortions are okay, right?
Well, no, I'm not even saying okay. Again, I don't know enough about some OBGYNs that they can defend their statement here. They will say abortion is never medically necessary. I'll allow them to defend that. I don't know enough about the details there to be able to say that.
So you're saying that you do not have a statement of whether abortions can never be true or always?
It is murder. Whether or not an OBGYN can prove to me, of which there's a lot of debate, it is ever medically necessary. So take, for example, if a baby is 26 weeks and the baby's, you know, the mom's life is in danger, deliver the baby by C-section. Don't terminate the baby. Does that make sense?
Yes, I
The baby can survive outside of the womb.
Okay, at that point, yeah.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Next question.
Hi, Charlie. Oh, thank you. Yeah, that's fine. Good to go. Thank you. Let's start off by laying some things that I think you and I would both agree on first. I'm sure you like our Constitution. I'm sure you're a big fan of our Bill of Rights, the habeas corpus, inclusion in the before even the Bill of Rights in the Constitution itself. When we look at the current league of deportations that's happening, particularly when it predates to Kilmar Abrego Garcia, right? He is a man who hasn't had his due process. He never had his day in court.
That's not true. You know that he spent 4 years in court from 2017 to 2021. In fact,
No.
so much so that the judge even ruled on his immigration status, saying that he could be deported at any time for any reason. He,
That court order actually elapsed, so it wasn't valid at the time of his deportation. If we want to go through these, we need people to have their habeas corpus rights. We need people to have the ability to show up in court and actually exemplify their, have their case be heard in front of a judge, be heard by a jury of their jury of their peers, pardon, and yeah, have a chance to be.
okay, but again, I've done this so many times. Let me just pause, and I don't mean to pick on you. How hard the left is fighting for this MS-13 scumbag is just remarkable to me. It's like I'm not trying to pick on you. Let me let me make a broad statement.
He could be the worst person in the world. He could be an
But
absolute scumbag.
is he a
trash
U.S.
bag.
citizen?
No,
Oh, that actually changes things.
it does absolutely.
And so
But it does not change.
Due process? Yes, it does. The Alien Enemies Act
Court
says you do. That's not correct.
Okay.
The Alien Enemies Act says you do not have to give due process to those that you are deporting. It is not
Correct.
correct. So they
Correct,
invoked the Alien Enemies Act.
What does it take to invoke that act?
And signature from the President of the United States to say that you are being invaded by a foreign power or assisted by a certain force on enemy ground.
Correct.
He was part of MS-13, which is a paramilitary arm of the Venezuelan government.
So, but in order to enact that act, don't we need a war declaration?
Oh, yeah. No, that's what he did on day one. He said that we're being invaded.
Does he have that power? I thought
Yes.
that was a congressionally approved
No,
thing.
that's not correct. The President of the United States has an ability within a 90-day emergency clause window to say that we are being invaded by a special power. It's called the War Powers Act of 1990-something. The War Powers Act gives the President the authority for 90 to 100 days to declare that we are being invaded. And we have been invaded, by the way, by MS-13 and Tren de Aragua. It's a material fact.
Considering, okay, one of the things that's super important when we consider law is the spirit of the law. And do we really believe that these laws were enacted with the spirit in mind of gangs being associated as arms of a state?
Potentially.
MS-13 and Tren de Aragua
but
are not Venezuelan arms. They're not.
No, MS-13 is. That's not correct. But let me throw it back at you. MS-13 is El Salvadorian and also
Tren de Aragua is
Venezuela.
Venezuela.
Yeah, Tren de Aragua is Venezuela. MS-13 is El Salvadorian. He signed declaration of invasions against both. But let me challenge you on this, because you're coming after this in good faith. Was the First Amendment written in the spirit of Facebook posts?
Can you clarify a little bit?
The First Amendment,
Yeah.
part of the Bill of Rights, ratified in 1791, was it written in the spirit that it shall apply to tweets?
Not to private corporations.
Well, no, meaning like, do your free speech rights apply also to the internet?
So it applies to public squares. The question that we're having now is Facebook a public square? Are Twitter public squares?
It's a separate issue. The issue is that we would all agree that you have a First Amendment right to express yourself, and the government can't throw you in prison regardless of where you have it. Whether you write a newspaper op-ed or whether you do a Facebook post, right? You have a First Amendment right to do that. The point being is you say, well, the spirit of the law in 1798, it doesn't matter if a law is old. It matters what moral claim is the law trying to make, because times sort of change, but people do not. Human nature goes unchanged. And so the point being is the Alien Enemies Act has been invoked 4 times in our nation's history: War of 1812, Civil War, World War I, World War II. And I believe totally appropriately invoked here. It's been enjoined by the Supreme Court right now, so we'll find out its future. But when you have 15 million people come into your country in a span of 4 years, that is definitionally an invasion.
I guess an invasion requires a certain commitment from a state, right? It's a big difference between an invasion and an immigration wave is whether there's a state operating.
Or a force. The cartels, man. The cartels operate like a state. The cartels are the reason that a lot of these people are able to make it up to the border. They pay money to the cartels. The cartels are using drones. They're using speedboats. They're using helicopters. The cartels act like a government. In fact, the cartels run the Mexican government. The Sinaloa drug cartel is more powerful than the Mexican Mexican government.
I would agree with labeling these terrorist organizations. I think they have the funding, they operate, they have such. But there's a key distinction between a government entity and a terrorist organization.
Hold on a second. We declared war on Al Qaeda.
Yeah.
What government was Al Qaeda?
We can declare war on terrorist organizations.
No, I know. That's what I'm saying. So, if we signed the Alien Enemies Act against Al Qaeda, it would have been perfectly fair and appropriate, obviously. And Al Qaeda is not a government. What I'm saying, though, is that the cartels, the MS-13 and Tren de Aragua, they are being supported by governments. They're harbored in governments. The Alien Enemies Act, of course, applies to them. These are enemies here on the mainland of America doing harm. And Kilmar Abrego Garcia is a member of MS-13. He was a wife beater, a child abuser, here illegally. He had a deportation notice on his head. And now he's back in his country of El Salvador, and we should be happy that he's home.
So, I can grant you that he might be all these things. It does not mean that he doesn't get a day in court.
But as a non-U.S. citizen, though, the Alien Enemies Act allow us to expeditiously remove him. It's just the way it works. I mean,
no, you're right. But
now that's not the case.
We can
the Supreme
argue
Court's
whether that was a correct invocation, right?
But that's irrelevant. The Supreme Court has now said no more, so there will be no more. But in that specific case, nothing was done illegally. The only argument you might have is that the judge says you could deport him anywhere except El Salvador. So we probably should have just deported him to, I don't know, the Congo, and everyone would have been happier. Hilariously, they said, oh, he's in a foreign jail. No, he's not in a foreign jail. He's an El Salvadorian in his own country. He's not an American. If he would have went to Gitmo, that would have been a foreign jail.
Okay. And then, let's see.
Thank
I
you.
think that's it for me. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Could I ask you for a red hat?
Yes,
signed?
absolutely. Thank you. Yep. Thanks. Great question. Yes, sir.
All right. Hi, Charlie. My name's Gabriel, and I'm a senior in high school. And I want to tell you this. I don't know much about this topic, so I'm here more to learn, but I also want to provide a point of view. So I wanted to speak about Trump's tariff policy. So since January 2025, Trump has had one of the worst presidential terms concerning the economy. And there are statistics to back this up. S&P has dropped 8%, Dow Jones has dropped 7%, the Russell has dropped 12%. The way I understand it, tariffs are a tax that are passed on to consumers. They impede upon the world free trade and increase the cost of imported goods. This not only has tanked our economy, but is actually putting small businesses across America out of work. Middle-class Americans that voted for Trump believing prices would drop are now having to close down their small business because they used to rely on outsourcing. Now, I understand that Trump's goal with this tariff policy is to bring back jobs to America. However, this is an unrealistic reality. Even though some corporations are moving production to the U.S. to avoid tariff, in reality, most would rather pass the cost on to consumers than financially pay billions of dollars in building new plants in America and paying higher wages. With all of this, I wanted to ask you if you could please defend Trump's tariff plan.
Sure. Great. First of all, the market's recovering, but you're right, it has gone down. The market is not a necessarily good indicator of the economy. We have an economy, and then we have a market. Half of Americans don't own any stocks, just for the record.
Okay.
And that's a very important thing, right?
There's a lot of Americans that have money in stocks and
Well,
are
of course they
losing
do.
money every day. because of
Well,
these
no, actually,
tariffs.
okay, you're in high school, so I'm just going to be like super gentle. Like, the market's been up the last couple days, right? Markets go up, markets go down.
Okay.
The more important question, though, is what type of economy is going to survive the next 40 or 50 years? When we do not make our own vitamin C, we don't make our own antibiotics, we don't make our own drone parts, and it's all made in China, we should try to re-domicile it. It's tempting to blame this all on tariffs, but there's actually no tariffs that are in place right now. You know that, right?
There's still a 10% baseline tariff, and even though there's a 90-day pause, they're going to come back. That's
Well,
the reality.
You know that better than I do, right? Yeah.
Well, I know that. That's a fact.
Oh, yeah, sure. Okay.
There's a 90-day pause on
Okay,
tariffs.
so again, I'm trying to be super, like, you're in high school, it's fine. You know Trump's talking to South Korea and Japan and Vietnam.
Okay.
We're going to get massive deals with India, and we're going to fix the trade imbalances. And here's the core of it. Can we at least agree that Trump ran on the idea of tariffs?
He did.
And people voted for it?
Yes.
Should elected leaders do what people vote for them to do?
Yes, but
Okay.
but I agree that he's doing what he said he would do. What I'm asking you is, how can you defend what he's doing? Because what would you say to the middle class American that has a small business that now has to shut down their business because they used to outsource to China and now they can't pay due to the high tariffs?
Well,
That's my question.
They were outsourcing to China?
Well, even though some small businesses don't outsource, they get a lot of their production from big companies that do make their products foreign. And so now that those prices are being jacked up and small businesses are running out of customers because they're having to pass the cost on to the
I see
consumer.
no evidence of that happening, and I believe, first of all...
what is the definition of a tariff?
Well, the tariff is a duty on an imported product. How do you avoid
Yeah.
a tariff?
You move to the U.S.
Yeah, exactly. So wait, hold on a second.
Are most companies moving to the U.S.?
Actually, yes. You know there's over $6 trillion in investments announced in the last 2 weeks in
Okay.
the United States of America?
Yeah.
$6 trillion.
But what happens in the U.S.? You get higher wages. Where does that cost go? Businesses aren't going to just pay that cost. They
No,
pass
they are.
that cost on to the
Toyota,
consumers.
Honda, Stellantis, NVIDIA did a $500 billion investment.
Yeah,
Oracle,
NVIDIA is down
data
like
centers.
20% in the last 3 months.
Right, again, so I'm going to try to be very gentle with this. Stock prices are not always a reflection of reality. That is an inflection of investors' skittishness, right? So
Okay.
if NVIDIA is down 20%, they might have been hyperinflated a couple months ago.
Yeah.
Let me just kind of close with this. Do we both agree we should make more stuff in America?
I agree in certain cases, yes.
Okay. I mean, yeah, I think with critical manufacturing, critical industry, we have massive trade imbalances with these countries. The president is going to actually say you have to buy more of our product, buy more of our liquefied natural gas. And I believe coupled with, we have 11 million manufacturing jobs that we need to fill in the next 5 years that don't require college degrees. Advanced manufacturing jobs, highly precise. Who's going to build all the robots? Who's going to build the drones? There's insane amount of hardware infrastructure that needs to happen. Factory jobs are not behind us. In fact, we have more hardware needs now in 2025 than we even had in 1985. So thank you for your time.
Okay.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Hello. My name is Joe, and I don't know that much about you. I'm gonna be honest, but you're like this conservative like Trump supporter, dude. Okay. And you'd consider yourself a Christian? How do you consider yourself like a serious Christian if you support Trump after he raped Jean Carroll?
So you believe he raped her?
Yes.
Really? Was he criminally indicted for that?
I believe he was.
No, he
guilty
wasn't.
For sexual abuse.
No, he wasn't. He was civilly found liable for slander in a slanted Manhattan jury. Tell me, what year was she raped?
Oh, I don't know.
She doesn't know either, actually, when she was asked.
The court found.
No, they did
that
not.
she
A
was
jury
guilty.
found him liable for smear and slander around this topic. Do you know that E. Jean Carroll said, quote, rape is sexy?
No.
She said that on air on the Anderson Cooper show. E. Jean Carroll says, do you know the facts surrounding the case?
A little bit.
Tell me.
No. No, all right. Okay.
Tell me.
Trump was, I don't know, indicted, found guilty for
wrong.
sexual abuse over
Wrong.
her because
Wrong.
he fingered her unconsensually.
He was never ever indicted. He was never that. This was a civil case that was around was around smear and slander and defamation. Again, according to E. Jean Carroll's recollection, she can't remember the year, but she says, some afternoon Donald Trump took me into a Tiffany's store at the height of his power, at the height of his popularity, when he was on the front cover of Playboy magazine and decided to go rape E. Jean Carroll? Really, we're supposed to believe that?
I've seen pictures of Donald Trump and Epstein hanging out.
Oh, yeah.
Oh!
Yeah, he kicked him out of the Mar-a-Lago club. What's the next point?
Because Epstein raped kids and
Yeah.
You have to kick him out if he rapes kids. Like, you can't have that personal. Like,
got it. So what's the contention?
He raped kids.
Trump raped kids?
Yeah. Jean Carroll when she was 13.
She wasn't 13. The accusation was one in her late 20s, not when she was 13.
13.
Your typical liberal, everybody. Give it up for him. Thank you very much.
The government. No, I love it.
Thank you.
Can I have a hat?
Thank you. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Charlie. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. Thank you for letting me speak. I'm studying abroad from Italy for this semester. Sorry? Yeah, from Roma. I've seen your videos online and I really respect what you are doing here. I have a question because in Europe we are facing the same problem with illegal immigration. And what are your stance on illegal families who came here many years ago and now are working and paying taxes in your country?
Every person who has come here illegally must be returned to their country of origin.
And I completely agree with you. I'm here to say something. I really like the speech that J.D. Vance did in Munich after the terrorist attack.
Do we like J.D. Vance, everybody? Isn't J.D. great?
Well, I'm not American, but I like him too. If I were American, I would have voted for him. However, in Europe, we are having a big problem with illegal immigration. People are coming, they don't respect our laws, they're raping women, stabbing. It's dangerous to go around. So I don't understand when people come here to talk to you, liberals and Democrats, saying that they want to welcome them, because you don't know who is entering in your country.
Amen. And I'll tell you, we need more legal immigrants like you in this country. I'll tell you what.
And it makes me upset that for me it's difficult. I'm respecting the law. I'm here. If I have to be here legally, I'm gonna go back to Italy because I cannot work. And it makes me upset seeing someone that comes here illegally and does whatever he wants. That's it.
God bless you. You want a hat?
If I can have a white one, because I already have
a white one. All right.
red.
Make Italy great again. Okay. Very good.
I wish. Can I shake your hand? Thank you. Thank you very much.
Hi, Charlie. I'm a senior in high school named Trevor, and I want to start off by saying thank you for coming to this beautiful city of San Diego. I just want to get your quick thoughts on two very specific topics. One being the photo of Kilmar Garcia's hand that Trump held up, and him advocating in an interview the other day with Terry Moran about it not being photoshopped in any way. I want to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't photoshopped. It was labeled.
Right, but he didn't say that. He said that the literal letters and numbers MS-13 were on.
No, they are. I mean, I have the picture here.
Yeah, it's photoshopped.
No, it's not. That's called labeling, not
right,
photoshopping.
Right, I agree that he labeled it, but Trump was saying that they were on there. He kept going on and on about it for 2 minutes.
I don't know the point of what you're making. The iconography, I can look it up.
Right.
Literally means MS-13.
I completely agree that those logos were on each of his knuckles. I'm saying that the letters MS and the numbers 13 were not on there, but in the photo that Trump held up, they were, and he advocates that they were like on his hand, not that they were labels.
I don't know what you're talking about, but sure. What's your next contention?
Okay, and then I want to just get two things that you disagree with Trump that he's done in his current presidency.
Canada should not be the 51st state.
Okay.
And I think not even a disagreement. I think we should have caution to try to go to war with Iran.
Okay.
We should be very careful about bombing the Houthis and getting closer to a war with Iran.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Appreciate it. Thank you. You want?
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks. Yes. Who's up?
How are we doing, Mr. Kirk? Yeah, hi. This is, you know, I'm not gonna sit here and act like I'm gonna be like a debate king here. You know, you have 10 years of experience on me, and I had a quick question though about on abortion, if that's okay with you. Right. So I think when we talk about abortion, I think we really get into this idea of like when we should assign personhood, right? So you clearly believe that life begins at conception, and I think it would be better if we shift that metric to a more based on sentience. And I believe that and the question I have for you is that since you believe that life begins at birth, let's say we have a person that's grown to old age and they have died and they have absolutely showing no brain activity at all. Would you believe that shooting that person, that dead person, is the equivalent of a human life?
Yeah, I mean, it is a human life, but those are two totally separate things. One is no more, and the other one's not yet.
Right.
So not yet is different than no more. If someone's at the end of their life and there's nothing more we can do to continue their life, that is a different moral conversation than someone that has not yet been completely grown as a human as you and I. Two totally different moral circumstances, so you can't conflate the two.
Right. But I think they both have the same problem where it's about the presence of consciousness, right?
No, it's not a problem. One, the consciousness will come. One will not. So they're two separate things. One has potentiality.
Yeah.
One does not. So you can't conflate the two together.
But okay, let's say let me use a different analogy then. Let's say I have a blueprint to a building, right? And I have the materials for the building, and you destroy those materials. The materials of the building isn't the building in itself. Can we both agree that there's a difference between those two?
Is the building building itself in real time, and it's currently being constructed, and it's going up?
No, but
up?
it still doesn't really matter because they're
Blueprint,
still adding value to the fact that we're creating the
bad
building.
analogy.
Right?
A blueprint.
How's that
the blueprint not itself is not the building.
Right, exactly.
No,
so
I'm
if
saying
you were
a human being's DNA is not
we
just
agree on that though.
No,
the
it's
blueprint
not.
is not the building, so there's probably different moral qualifications.
No,
right?
they're not. I'm saying though that the baby is the building. So you're incorrect.
Okay, so
the building is following the blueprint.
So when you're looking at like I don't know, like a fertilized egg, you're telling me a picture of this fertilized egg is the equivalent of a human life right now. No, the exact
What's
same
the
thing.
difference?
The different stage of development.
No. So why should stage of development give you more rights?
Well, I mean, okay, you're acting like this is not something this is done in society. Like, for example, we do judge based on different stages of development, like in cognitive capabilities, right? I'm not letting a fetus drive a car. A fetus can't drive.
No, hold on. Right to life.
Alcohol and whatnot.
Apply the right to life to your stage of development.
This is a little bit different. So I guess a different question I would have to ask you is like, why I'm assuming your two qualifications here are the fact that it's a unique cellular organism, right, that has the potential to life,
and it's
right?
human, which
and
is inherently has dignity.
So I guess then this brings on a question because I know there's another scenario where this occurs, right, where fertilization of an egg occurs, and they're on track to development, correct? And this other example that I'll think of is like animals, right? I think why do we not give the same moral consideration to animals as we are to zygotes in this situation?
Because animals aren't human beings.
Okay, but why is human beings?
Human beings have a soul and animals do not.
Have a soul. So this is my point, guys.
Soul is not just consciousness.
Is a conscious experience.
No, it's
you are
Let me prove it to
engaging
you.
in
Wrong.
This is honest though.
Let me prove it to you. When someone is quote unquote brain
Okay.
dead, do you know that they still respond if someone stabs them? Their norepinephrine goes up. Do you know that a woman still menstruates if she's brain dead? So consciousness is not human worth. There's something else going on beyond consciousness that exists in a being that is the soul.
Okay, so now we're getting into a conversation of what the difference between the soul and a consciousness is. And
They're totally different. The soul is something beyond. Consciousness is your narration to yourself,
Okay.
your ability to reason. There's something above reason. All of us know what that is when it kicks in. You ever hear the expression, words can't describe, I am speechless? You know why? Speech is reason. When you see a sunset that takes your breath away, when you see a newborn life that is born, you don't even have the words to express it because it transcends your reason.
I agree with that.
That is your soul.
So I mean that's a good point. Like when we give, what you just labeled there is like when a child is given born, when they're born, we give such moral significance to that, not the fact that like they got infertilized by an egg. I don't want to celebrate. I want to I'd rather celebrate my birthday rather than the day my parents had sex. That's kind of a little weird situation. You know what I mean? Like if life begins at conception.
Well, it's called your birthday for a reason.
Right,
But you were a living being, not.
It seems that like society
You
kind
were
of
9 months prior.
gravitates to this idea of like an actual human being existing that gives moral value, right?
One is your entrance to the world. The other one
Right.
is the actual creation of your being. Two different
Right.
things. Your birthday is when you entered the world.
Right,
For example, your birthday could be at 28 weeks, not 36
Okay.
weeks. So everybody has a different day when you exit the womb, but it's
Okay.
not when your worth begins. That's not when your value begins. That's simply simply when you exit the womb.
Right, right. So I have a good question. I really want to get back to this idea of like you give more moral value to the level of the fact that like that humans that are developed have a soul in comparison to like a zygote that, or actually no, animals
or a
animals,
coyote.
Okay, so is that not the same comparison to like a zygote to a developed human being in the sense that like we are a higher functioning conscious being in comparison to like this other thing that we can just actively kill whenever
Doesn't
we want.
matter. I
Why
mean,
does
can
it
you
not matter,
actively
though?
kill a 1-year-old? Doesn't have as much acuity as you do or consciousness.
Right. Yeah, but like I mean,
Can
that's
you?
not the,
Can
that's
you
not-
kill
that's
a
not the-
1-year-old?
That's the same thing because like this is
Of
like
course
going
it's
back
the
to
same
my
thing.
like
What's the
idea of
difference in a
sentience,
1-year-old
right?
and a 1-day-old zygote? What's the moral difference?
The level of consciousness.
Oh,
right?
so one's bigger. One's more developed. One's
no,
older.
not one more
the
developed, no,
consciousness
no.
is completely
Sure,
irrelevant.
sure.
Because
How is it
just you know that
irrelevant?
a 1-day-old out of the womb doesn't have a lot of consciousness at all.
Okay, sure,
It
that's
can't
fine.
speak. It can't really. It's kind of
Right.
like disembobulated.
But that's-
you don't get less rights for that.
No, I agree. I mean, like, well, to a certain degree, I agree with that. But like, there is a meaningful difference between a fertilized egg and a conscious human being. One is less conscious than the other.
Oh no, one has more skills. But like, what's the innate moral difference? And prove it to me.
Because it seems like we do restrict rights, and we do actually change rights based on development and consciousness.
No,
and
about
cognitive
life.
experience,
So
right?
like a 4-year-old. Right. What is the innate moral difference of a 4-year-old and a zygote?
One is more conscious.
Okay, got it. So I think that's irrelevant. I think they're both human beings deserving of protection. Consciousness alone is not a marker of dignity.
Okay, but so then what is your marker of dignity? Is
Being
that
a
because-
human being.
Being a human being. So is your argument a little bit circular though? There, it's just like it's
No,
just
it's not.
because we deserve rights because we're a human being.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's self-evident. We are human beings with a soul, therefore we have rights.
So we deserve rights because we're human beings because we're human beings. So like, how am I supposed to win against this argument here?
You can't.
See, okay, yeah, exactly. So it's
Because
inherently
it's called a
okay.
self-evident truth.
So like,
It's
yeah.
called self-evident. So that's why the pro-life position is irrefutable.
But
is
so
that
then-
because you have to posit human
Right,
beings have rights.
and that's is not a kind of a concern that like we base all our entire ideology on this one illogical circle that.
No,
that
it's not
goes back and
illogical.
forth?
It's incredibly
Yeah, right.
logical.
So like,
we are human beings,
what I'm
and we
interested
believe
in
that
is
they
that
matter.
like if you were to remove this circle here, then you would have to actually be pro-life in the sense it'd be pro-life to all life.
Oh, we are.
Right. So
No, no,
pro-life to
no,
like
but no,
animals,
but no,
and kind of
but we
it's
don't
saying-
believe
I'm-
human
look,
beings
I'm
are-
not like a vegan or anything. I'm not
But
vegetarian.
human beings
I
are not the
think this-
moral
if
same
you
as
were-
a bird. It's not the same thing. For multiple reasons. Because a human being has characteristics and qualities, and most importantly, we believe as Christians, human beings have a soul that a bird does not have.
Okay, so characteristics and qualities.
And only,
like,
let me interrupt one more.
Sorry,
The West,
no
whether
problem.
you agree or not, sorry to interrupt, we believe the human being is the only thing made in the image of the Creator, Imago Dei.
Okay. So when you say characteristics and qualities, what does that mean to me? What does that mean to me?
Well, first of all, not just the ability to reason, but also the ability to sympathize, empathize,
Okay.
feel, predict, plan.